welcome everybody. Welcome to the webinar series by SalesChoice. We're a company that specializes in ending revenue uncertainty for human advantage. I am Jen Yim, your host, Director of Product and Marketing at SalesChoice, and we bring three offerings to market. So the first is Sales Insights, which helps sales professionals meet their sales plans with predictive analytics and guided insights and a coaching layer. There's Mood Insights, which helps bridge the distance between frontline employees and company leaders, powered by AI. And a third offering is AI and Data Science as a Service, designing, building, and maintaining AI models. Over the years, we've been hosting numerous experts and thought leaders in the fields of AI and revenue growth. And we built a huge trove of podcast webinars and white papers. I invite everyone to go to saleschoice.com/resources to learn more and discover a year's worth of knowledge there. And today we are hosting a webinar series with Joel Mandelbaum, best-selling author of Winning Online. Welcome, Joel. I'm excited to have you here with us. And just as a beginner, could you tell us a bit about you yourself?
Okay, I'll try to do it as fast as possible. Just basically, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first company at 19, sold that 24 years later. That was in freight transportation and logistics. I got into the online marketing space more out of necessity and desperation and to understand what really needed to do to win online. And I failed. Boy, did I ever. And realized that I had to go back to school, if you will, and learn. And I have learned from some of the smartest minds that are available in terms of marketing online and development and platforms and a whole bunch of cool stuff. And over the last now almost 12 years, I've been involved with multiple companies, multiple agencies. I own a couple of agencies and some platforms. Anything that I can do to bring my client further ahead in the online game. It's the fastest moving technology on the planet. So if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're only going to get mediocre results. So we help our clients to, of course, extend that. And I'm a passionate pilot, fitness enthusiast. I live in a place called Richmond Hill, just north of Toronto, with my wife and my cat, Violetta. And if you can read fast, you can see my whole bio here on the screen. And I'm here today just to spread some content and have a great conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Joel. And we're featuring iOPW, one of your companies. If you could just give us a brief summary of what iOPW does.
Sure. iOPW has been building websites for more than 25 years and have built very disruptive technologies that get organic ranking in search. Every client we have has multiple organic spots on every page of search. So in other words, you want to be on the first page. We've actually developed a platform that's about 25 years old that, yes, we keep updating it, that always works in terms of services. So we've developed that. We've developed a review platform that helps you to control your reviews. We've launched thousands and thousands of websites, and we just launched our latest platform, which is an AI generating content platform backed on a 1.5 million page website that we also built, which gets some very, very, very stellar rankings for our clients. Since everything is now AI and everything is new frontier, it's something that we're very proud of, that we're able to understand and figure out how ChatGPT actually ranks and looks for content. And my team has been working on that for a long time, and we figured out part of the puzzle, and that, of course, is translated with some really good results for our clients.
Awesome. Fascinating. I'm going to turn it over to our Dr. Cindy Gordon, CEO of SalesChoice, to begin the conversation.
Thanks, Jen and Joel. It's such a pleasure to have you on here today, and to all of our guests, a warm welcome. I'm sitting in Toronto as well as Jen and Joel. I guess you're out at Richmond Hill. Joel, I think everybody heard your energy and your passion, and just delighted to have you here today. Obviously, you've written the book. You've gotten to very high rankings on winning online. What was the inspiration, and why did you write your book? I always like to hear the story and the backdrop.
So yeah, I didn't want to write a book, to be honest. I got into the marketing space about now 12 years ago and hooked up, as I said, with some very smart people. So I kind of leapfrogged my education past your typical. And over the years, I started realizing that most business owners like me didn't at the time, like me when I didn't know, have no clue on really what they need to be doing to win online, if you will. They were using the wrong platforms. I saw that a lot of them were having sites built that were unnecessary, high cost, wrong, using the wrong medium. And it's not any business owner's fault because we trust people that are in an industry. And so I just kept hearing stories and stories and stories. Even yesterday, I heard a story from who's now going to be a client. They spent $2,500 on social media posts, 4 posts in 1 month on LinkedIn. And I just couldn't believe it. So I thought, well, did they at least wrap it in gold or platinum or Bitcoin? But no. So I just couldn't really understand why and where the value was. And I realized that, through talking to a lot of clients and over the years, people started saying, Joel, you should write a book. I learned a lot today. And of course, no way. I'm thinking I'm not going to write a book and get into that. And finally, one day, I just had it, and I had heard a story that just really made me feel bad for the client. And he said, "Okay, I need to write a book." So I thought, well, how am I going to do this? Just out of coincidence, or are there really coincidences in life? My ex-vice president of my transport company was an amazing writer, and we were talking for coffee, and said, Joel, I'll help you write the book. I'll help get out of what's in here and get it down into paper. And I thought, wow, that's great. So we started doing that. 6 months into it, we had spent a lot of time. I met someone who had written 4 best-selling books, and he took a look at it and said, not going to sell, and it's a boring book. I stepped back. I was okay. And he said, you need to create a story. You need to engage your audience. So we went back to the drawing table again, created characters, and made it into a story format with actionable steps that a business owner can take to increase their visibility and to help give them the right decisions and move them in the right direction. So as we finished the book, I'm now looking at different publishing houses and stuff, and they all want this kind of money, that kind of money. And another friend of mine, just again, life brought me when I needed, said, yeah, I just took a course on how to self-publish on Amazon. It's not going to cost you anything. Well, to me, free seemed pretty good. So he helped me, and there's the history. We launched it. I told everyone about it, and we hit #1 in 6 categories. And I have all the screenshots to prove it. And I even knocked Michelle Obama off the #2 spot of the top 100 paid Kindle books. So go Canada. And then I realized I must have hit a nerve. And so it was a passion to do. And ever since then, I created a course because of the demand for the follow up. And I really, really enjoy just helping my clients just move to that next level and see those small wins that they may not have ever had before. That was the reason. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Cindy, you're on mute.
Okay, so yeah, I think I got blocked because I think Jen shut everybody down, including me.
Ah,
Sorry about that, Joel, and everyone. I was trying. Um, Thank you, Joel, for the backdrop and in the journey and the story there. It's interesting how serendipity and the right people come into our lives when we most need them. Now, obviously, the book is right here. Having read it, I know it doesn't take too long to read. It's a fantastic airport book, everybody. But what are the three big takeaways at the end of the day that you really want to ensure our audience here leaves with? And just two or three key points.
I think whenever someone's looking to get business in their online marketing efforts, really you have to think about building trust. That's really, at the end of the day, no one's going to buy from you unless they trust you. And how do you get that trust as fast as possible? Um, Google did a study a bunch of years ago called the Zero Moment of Truth, and they crunched their data to find out what it took for you to make the short list or for a customer to decide to buy from you. And they said it took 7 hours of consuming your brand across 11 touch points, like text, voice, email, in 4 locations: your office, my office, we went to lunch. When the pandemic hit, that kind of merged. But the bottom line is that you have to do the time. And so your online visibility is, before you do any marketing, make sure your positioning is there. Have a great website. If your website's more than 4 or 5 years old, it's time to change it due to new resolutions and monitors, search engine requirements, things like that. Make sure that you have a great LinkedIn page because people are going to search before they do business with you. And we've seen this countless times. So I'd say the most important thing is getting your positioning right. I would say once your positioning is right, making sure that you're on the right platform. So, for example, if you have a B2C company and you're consumer facing, probably good to do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you're more B2B, and of course, you could also do Google Ads. But if you're more B2B, then you have to really focus on LinkedIn and doing Facebook posts and such. That's not really where your target audience is. So you have to find where your target audience is. And also another thing to that is serving them the right messaging. Is it connecting with your audience? So you have to also understand what the hero's journey is. In other words, what is your client thinking about? What is your ideal client thinking about when they need your service? So when I land on your website, do the elements in your website reflect what my problem is and build trust and that you can show me that you can handle my situation? Not only that, what are other people saying about you? So again, reviews are also important. Online reputation is important. Google your name plus the word reviews. Google your company name plus the word scam and see what comes up. Because your competitors are doing that and your potential customers are doing that. So again, making sure your positioning is good, your visibility is good, you're on the right platforms, and then you also have to be omnipresent. You can't be just doing one thing. So if you're doing Google Ads, you should probably also be posting. If you're B2B, you should also be posting on LinkedIn. You should be doing a LinkedIn lead gen program, directly to the people who are your target focus. There's too many business owners. They're just all over the place. And of course, all over the place means waste of time and waste of money.
Yeah, I thank you for that. Joel, can you also comment on is email marketing more dead now as well? Because you can see the declining rates in email marketing and just sort of your perspective. And obviously within LinkedIn, are people getting fatigued in from too much marketing now on LinkedIn? Any thoughts on that side?
Yeah, great question. So in terms of email marketing, I do not think email marketing is dead. Even though only 60 some odd percent of all emails get opened because we're getting hit with so many spammy messages and people using spam filters and AI to filter those things out. It still is effective, but it's not the thing that you should be doing. It's part of what you should be doing. Email marketing, sending it, every email you send out shouldn't be a sale of something. You should be emailing valuable content to the people that are on your list, telling them things that might make them more interested in what you're doing, showing that you're a subject matter expert, because that will build trust. Even though it's an email, a percentage of people always read their emails as well. So you never want to leave that out. In terms of LinkedIn, sorry, what was the, oh yeah, too much marketing and selling on LinkedIn. That is a big problem. And that's one of the reasons we developed a platform for LinkedIn, because the majority of people on LinkedIn are marketing and selling. And it is not a platform to market or sell. It's a platform to prospect. The people on LinkedIn tend to be, very smart. They understand when someone's trying to pitch them and not try to build a relationship. So you have to think differently. When you're reaching out to someone, the majority of people on LinkedIn, they, first of all, never ever send a LinkedIn request without a message. Never. That's spammy. I know that the next thing once I hit connect is you're going to dump a bunch of stuff into my LinkedIn chat about your business and try to sell me. What you really need to be doing is social conversation. Reach out to someone, make a comment. Don't try to sell them on you because it's not going to work. We need to understand each other, trust each other, see if I can help you first before I decide whether I'm going to show you my stuff. But since I'm reaching out to you on LinkedIn, you're still going to see my profile. I mentioned before, have a great LinkedIn profile, one that feels that your audience will resonate with. What's also I find really important is too many people in their summary section on LinkedIn is they've got about that much. Really, your summary section is like your About Us page on your website, which is the second most looked at page on a website. So people are going to go to your summary section to understand who you are. What's your journey? What's your story? So I would say that you have to be a little more human, not as, posting content on LinkedIn is important, but not as friendly or squishy stuff as you would on, say, Facebook. You can be personal on LinkedIn. I had a post I did during COVID. It was my wife and I were out for a walk, and I just had an urge to just say, hey, you know what? We're all business owners. We're all suffering here. Make sure you take time for yourself and care. And if you've got a beautiful wife, that also helps. And I just posted it, didn't think anything of it. At the time, I had maybe 4,500, 5,000 connections on LinkedIn. I had about 3,500 impressions from that post. And it wasn't just because of my network. People shared that out because they liked that stuff. And actually, someone had reached out to me, asked me what I did, loved it. We ended up doing business, but it wasn't an expected thing. So be more human on LinkedIn. Don't wait. Don't sell and pitch. Start a conversation. Get it going. Especially if you're B2B, all you're paying for and all your marketing is to get a conversation with the right person.
Yeah, I love the fact you're underscoring bringing the humanity and forward, and that's a really key message, and pacing oneself in the sales journey, right? Not to pounce, so to speak. Um, Obviously, one of the things that's always helpful for everyone is specific cases or stories. You don't have to disclose the names of the companies, but some customers that have followed your recommendations and the value that they've received, in terms of, I don't know, maybe crushing the competition is too strong of words, because these days it's more co-opetition often than pure competitive play. But would love some sound bites that you're most proud of, Joel.
Yeah, that's another great question. Um, so I'll give a couple of examples. We have a client who is a personal injury lawyer, and they're down in Texas, and their budget on Google Ads, we're talking almost 100,000 US a month. Significant money that they're spending. If you know anything about Google Ads, when you click on someone's ad, they pay a certain amount per click. And a click can cost a buck, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100. In that place, it's $1,000 a click under the keywords that they wanted to show up under. Because if they get a catastrophic accident, they could be looking at millions of dollars in settlement, and they get about 30% of that. So they came to us. Had massive competition in there, and they took a look at one of our platforms, the one I originally discussed. And if anyone's read my book, I mentioned something called content properties in my book, which are small websites that are very content rich, original, all within terms of service and search. We built this company 300 of those sites. And within 4 months, they were able to reduce their Google budget by 50%. And within a year, they were able to reduce their Google budget by 75%. Now, they still wanted to have an ad spot because they didn't want their customers having any spots on the first page. In a situation like that was highly competitive, we were able to get them the first 4 spots on Google below the ads. And that continues to this day. They're continually building more and reducing their Google spend. I have a lighting company here in Toronto. He was a solopreneur, and lighting and LED lighting is also a very competitive space. And we were able to build out a bunch for him. And he eliminated all of his other marketing budget because in his space, he just needs to be visible, and he needs to be visible in search engines. He came to me, literally, he said, I have 6 months left in revenue for my business, so I'm going all in, and either what you do is going to help or I'm going to be shutting it down. I mean, what pressure? He's telling me this as he's signing the contract. And I say, well, we'll do the best we can. I can't guarantee that you're going to get sales. I can only get you the leads. It's really up to you to do the conversion and make sure you have all that right. And he knew his stuff. 6 months later, he was opening up a second location. So he was very successful. One last example I'll tell you about, not on Google, but on LinkedIn for my B2B clients. Last week, I had a meeting with a client, and through a lead gen system that kind of eliminates a lot of the mess that people and mistakes people make in LinkedIn, he signed $1 million client. And I'll tell you something, I celebrate almost more than my client does, because I know I've been able to take them from somewhere they've never been to somewhere that they want to be. And, he had other clients as well, but he called me up. It was 3 in the morning. I see my phone going off. I put it back down. And at 8 a.m., I took a look and I'm thinking, why would he call me? And he's, call me right away, call me right away. And of course, we think the worst, oh yeah, there's something wrong or something. And I'm going through my head, what is it? There's nothing that could be wrong. So I talked to him and he was literally ecstatic. Joel, you've helped change my life. We weren't doing so well financially, and I bagged the largest client in the history of my company at a 25-year-old company. And it just was exciting to see that and feel that energy of someone. I should have probably worked on a commission or something like that, but hey, why not? He's doing well and he did the work. So
Yeah, and you know what? Making the difference is really where the joy comes in as well, right? And just even choosing the title, and also the dynamic of all parties coming together to really celebrate in a positive outcome. Now, you and I have been talking about AI for a while. Obviously, you've been experimenting and learning. And so just some of your perspectives of how, as you're advancing in your online strategy, where you see AI adding the most value, with what you've experienced to date.
wow, I mean, we're in a new frontier right now. Um, I think that in terms of, as I mentioned before, I would say AI and the internet, they're both the fastest moving technology right now. AI is exploding. I mean, the thing is, if we all remember back in the internet when the .com started, even saying you're a .com company gave you more valuation. Same thing I see here. You just put, hey, we do AI on our website, and you're going to get more interested people because people don't really understand it as much. Like now, everyone knows what the internet is. The problem is that the people that didn't adapt to the internet got crushed. You remember a company called Blockbuster that got crushed by Netflix. And here we're now in another inflection point um, on our planet in terms of technology. And I think that that's going to happen more quickly if you're not um, how is you have to ask yourself this question. What are you doing with AI in your business? Are you incorporating it into your business in some way, shape, or form? With us, we've incorporated it into a new platform to be able to create content for our clients that gets them ranking with AI, with Bing. It's not a Google play. I think Google is losing a lot of search traffic to Bing now because of ChatGPT, because of Copilot. So you have to also look at where are my customers moving to as well. So if you're implementing AI, how can you implement AI? Ask yourself, how can I implement AI to increase either the value of my company, efficiencies of my company, and really, if you're not doing something with AI, you're going to be left in the dust. So you really have to do research in your industry as to what works best for you. What are your competitors doing? What are new things are coming out, and how will that affect your business? Efficiencies. You're talking making decisions on things that a human generally wouldn't be able to, because AI can mine data. Um, I mean, there's just so many things that it can do. You have to just throw yourself in there and figure out what works best for your company and your vision, because things are changing very quickly. So yes, you really
I,
need to adapt that.
Yeah, and as we look ahead with quantum computing, we are going to see another major inflection point, right? So, the experimentation and the learning and the adoption is so key. One of the things that will be announced soon from our company is we'll be bringing a series out on really to drive more board director leadership in asking the right questions, in their organizations to move organizations into faster adoption rates and also to make the right investments on the machine learning ops infrastructures. Um, Joel, obviously you've been dealing a lot on the leading aspects of lead generation to really get the visibility, through the optimization in lots of dimensions there. But as you look upstream in terms of driving more value of the I'd say this prospect identification, and also predicting the opportunities. Obviously, you know what we do at SalesChoice, but some perspectives in terms of, you know, the value chain that you see emerging from, you know, the prospecting stage right through the whole life cycle and ongoing life cycle of customer engagement.
That's, I think that one of the most important places AI is going to be is in sales and marketing, because we all have a lot of data. So, for example, I have Zoho as the CRM. Larger corporations might have Salesforce, or they might have some of these other fairly large. And there's a lot of data in, and we really, I would say the majority of us, yeah, we use the data from what we can see, but we don't really mine the data. Whereas if you have an AI that can get into your CRM, mine all that data, and come up with insights that you would just not think of, this is happening on a regular basis. Companies are using AI to make decisions. And I'll tell you, although I'd like to say that I'm very experienced and I can make great decisions, your decisions are based on data. And if you have the right data that's organized properly, that an AI can read and come back to you and say, hey, by the way, did you know that these salespeople are producing more and these are producing less, as an example? Well, then why are they producing more if they're selling the same service? Well, then maybe there's insights in there that you can pull out that you can help the salespeople that are not doing as well. Or maybe we're getting the wrong target clients. What clients are more profitable? Are you tracking your clients' revenue? What clients are growing that maybe you're not aware of, that you may want to give more time to help them grow better, so it'll come back to you. I think it's very important in terms of prospecting. An AI can search out online, or soon will be able to search out online, if not already, I'm sure it's already, to find out what your target prospects are, where they are, what they're doing, where they're hanging out. Who is your target client? This is one of the most important things in a business, is identifying who your prospects are and the best ones. When we start a business, if there's any entrepreneurs here, I'm sure a lot of us are, at the beginning, we tend to have the fallacy of, let's just take any client we can just to get them in the door and start producing revenue. But that could be catastrophic for a business if you're getting the wrong clients, because they're going to take too much time, money, energy, and effort, and it's going to be a losing battle. Even though it might be a large corporation that is very popular, you really have to determine what your criteria is for a client, who is your target client, and be very, direct and straight about that. Just because it might be a client, you want to make sure that the insights that you can get, will this be a problem client? If there's a way of finding out, do they pay quickly? Like, what if they don't pay quickly? What if they're slow payer and they're just bringing in, just do this, do this, do this. But we realize, I know some business owners, they don't keep track of their accounts payable. Well, then maybe an AI can turn around a flag and say, hey, I wouldn't necessarily do any more work for this client because they're 90, 120 days old. So there's decisions that you can make based on this data that AI will bring you. So I think it's absolutely important. In fact, if you're going to survive, you're going to have to bring AI into your sales and marketing. Absolutely. So your competitors are.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. The McKinsey did a report not too long ago, looking at all of the I'd call it follow the venture funding in Series A, B, and C across the AI value chain, and not a surprise, sales and marketing, to your point, was the number one area where you could more easily justify return on your investment, through the whole customer life cycle. The second area was cybersecurity, if I recall, just a tremendous amount of investment there. And then the third area was more the supply chain management side, which again makes sense, large ERP complexity, lots of data in those infrastructures. And the HR, human capital, was further upstream. And it's not that the human capital side doesn't have value by any means. We all know that. I think it's just a faster ROI. There's usually just more budget that goes into, the CRM environments. With the time that we have left, Joel, I really want to see if there's any questions that we may have from anybody that's here. So if anybody wants to just go into the chat, Jen can check the questions that might stream in. But I have another question for you, just to get us going here, that was on my mind while you were talking, Joel. while Jen kind of scans from the crowd if there's any input. If you could maybe talk about the speed that we're driving because obviously when you're out with the clients or prospects, the speed that they're willing to move to, embrace what's needed. Often, Canadians are, I'm just going to pick on Canadians. I know you do business in the US, but the speed of our innovation resilience, right? So just any perspectives there on the adoption speed and the resilience to move. Because I do think
That,
absolutely right.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right. The movement and the speed is so key.
So I would say, in my experience, a person that's an early adopter of technology will move quickly in something like this. And I'm finding that companies that tend to be, it depends really who's at the helm of the business. I find that if a company is really up with their technology stack, they're going right in. They're jumping in feet first, ask questions later because they may not know 100% what it is exactly they're going to be doing with AI, but they're jumping in quickly and they're finding out and doing the research and how quickly can we implement this to give us ourselves a competitive edge. So I think a lot of people are just more fascinated, just like when the internet first came out. Again, you had companies, I'm not gonna, what do I need a website for? What do I need all this for? Well, I think now you need to adopt and you must look to see what you can do to improve your business, your flow, your client journey. In fact, there's even an AI that will remember your preferences when you land on a website, say for an e-commerce site. So it'll give you a different experience just based on what you've done in the past. So it literally changes the website based on what you like. So it recognizes you coming in. These are things that you need to understand will help your business. You just, again, so adoption taking up quickly. I find that older, more depending on the industry, some industries are a lot less savvy, if you will. So I'm not going to say all of them, but if you're looking in manufacturing, if you're looking in industrial, they tend to be slower adopters. And of course, there's always leaders in every industry. If you look at when I started my first company, it was in transportation. That industry is way behind, way, way, way behind. And I speak to business owners now, and it's amazing how they just ignore it. They're all in their own little bubble, and it's just something that I think everybody really should take up and adopt more quickly. So hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no. It's essentially, you're seeing the technology savviness, kind of logical. You're going to drive the speed. Obviously, there's an industry perspective of that sort of the different, mobilization efforts. Makes all good business sense. Jen, how are we doing in the question gallery? Any questions to
Yeah,
ask?
so I've got one to get started. So one question is, what's the biggest barrier to organizations using AI internally and how to get started?
So, Joel, why don't you answer that, and then I can certainly do some quick builds here based on our experiences.
I would say the biggest barrier is psychology, the people making the decisions and the late adopters. I also think it's lack of understanding. A lot of people, they get intimidated by new technologies as well. And you could be running, hopefully not a tech company and that happening. But I would say, how do you get started? I would look at obviously what your industry is. So let's say, for example, you're in the transport space. Let's just pick on them. And you want to be able to implement AI. So maybe AI could help to route your drivers up better, connecting it to, say, Waze or Google Maps or something like that. So it could help to dispatch a driver, knowing that there's an accident up ahead, knowing that traffic is slowing down, and reroute the driver to the dispatcher to be more efficient. Billing and collections, I know, is something that in that industry is just tough, 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 tough. So by able to bring up in your CRM which customers, and that's kind of how I mentioned before, which customers might be great customers, because in the transportation space, you could have a customer that's spending 1,000 a week this month and they're growing, Next month, they're $5,000, $10,000 a week. It's very possible. And I've seen that happen. How do you stay on top of that? So what I would do is based on your industry, Google it. What AI software will help X industry? And just start your search in very general search. And as you start seeing things become more and more niche in your search, and eventually you'll find something because AI is now in every industry.
So Joel, yeah, definitely the digital literacy is key in understanding. I'm just going to share a few builds. I teach an AI master's class to CEOs, senior executives through the United States AI Institute. And this question always comes up, like, what's the journey? How do we get started? What are the barriers? The number one barrier here is really the foresight of the board and the executives and having AI integrated into their business strategy, right? So AI has to not be just into the IT function. You need to level up and bring up the knowledge base of all the employees really and all the senior executives. And I mean all the employees. So it's a really a fundamental skill competency. And the other big issue on the barrier is the sustainability. Most people don't know that 80% of AI models that are developed never are sustained. Because it's pretty easy to, secure a corpus of data, apply a specific learning AI algorithm, pop it up into a visualization layer. But it's the sustaining aspect that's really important to ensure that you're building a capability in an area in the business that you really want to, continue to develop. But those are a couple of things. I mean, I could talk at length on this, but I know there's probably another question in the room there, Jen. Another one out there for us?
Yeah. What are the top 3 metrics in winning online that we should be ensuring are in place based on your experience, Joel?
Which I said, you don't want to build trust. So I would say positioning, giving away valuable content and teaching your audience, because if I can learn something from you, I'm going to have more trust. And I think visibility in terms of being omnipresent in more than one channel. And
And
let me throw a fourth thing, as I've repeated before, is understanding your client's journey.
And I would just put a fifth in there, and it's called conversion of results, right? And am I growing my the growth of my revenue stream, and is that predicated on the investments that have been made through the different marketing strategies? Keeping a vigilant eye there. I think the key thing that we're all taking away is we've got a very complex world that we're living in, and an omnipresent structure is really needed. It's no longer we can be skilled in one area, right? As we build our winning online strategies. Totally agree, Joel, with what you've shared. Jen, what else is in there?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Let me just add to your point there, because, was it Dennings that said what gets measured gets managed? I mean, if you're running a campaign, what are your attributes? Where's the money coming from? Where are the clients coming from? Making sure you're tracking any campaign you're doing. If you're doing LinkedIn, how many people are responding? How many people are interested? We're doing Google campaign. How many clicks? How much did that turn into conversion? Are you getting the right people? So, I mean, you really need to, before you start, is to really measure from a baseline and continually measure, manage, and optimize.
Thanks, Joel. So it looks like we have 2 more so far. So for the next one, my organization has invested a great deal in both sales and marketing software infrastructure. Are companies out there getting ROI on these investments? What's working and what's not?
I'll take that one if you want, Joel. I think first of all, the results of the return on investment of CRM has been plagued for a few generations of CRM deployments. And it's only ever as good as the leadership behaviors, right? And ensuring that the job descriptions, people know the importance of data, the quality of the workflow process, so people are locked in to perform certain motions. And the design of these systems is really key in the ongoing KPIs. So I would need a lot more context to add a lot, but the clients we work with are mainly mid to large enterprises, right? Where they may have had Salesforce in for 5 or 6 years or 10 years, And they're now at the point where they have sufficient data volume that they can apply AI. And that's really key because AI is only as good as the high corpus of data, but also the quality and the completeness of it. And so we do find that when we go into a client, the first thing we look at is the workflow process logic. And if in fact, things haven't been designed well, we've got that has to get action. So whether we have another, partner that helps come in, or whether we deal with the data lineage and the change transformation that's needed. But it's an ongoing problem. I mean, that's one of the reasons Salesforce put in their customer success overlay, right? Is because they had clients, they've got lots of clients, they're growing, but the return on the full life cycle. Now, AI is coming into play where it can start course correcting lots of the issues and creating the sort of the guidance systems, right? So we are going to see, I think, a whole series of new modalities that are going to be quite interesting as these agents try and I'd say rescue the messiness of humans. Humans are messy. As much as we try to corral them into a certain modality, adults do learn and behave in many different ways, right? Joel, thoughts?
Well, I would say that, in terms of sales and marketing, I'd say that I've already said what needs to be said. I'm in full agreement with you, Cindy. I would say it's something that when I look at my clients and I look at what they're doing in different industries that they're in, it all goes back down to sales, and it all has to go with adoption, and it all has to go with getting a buy-in. And if you don't get a buy-in, that could be catastrophic, because maybe someone on your team doesn't understand and they'd rather just say no than try to understand, or they're feeling, there's a lot of people out there that are technologically challenged or think they're technologically challenged, and they just don't put in the effort to really understand that a lot of technology these days is intuitive, and we make it intuitive so it's easier for someone to come in and understand and learn what there is. So
Yeah, you'd have a hard time getting me back to a personal computer. I was always on the PC for years when I was a partner at Accenture, and then when I was a venture capitalist, we got exposed to the Apple, and it took me a while to move, but now it's just the ease of the UI, right? It's so intuitive. Jen, I think you said there's one more last
There's one
question.
more. Yes. What are your thoughts on AI and prompt engineering as a new key skill for sales and marketing?
Joel, why don't you rip on that one? I've got very strong views on that one.
yeah, honestly, so here's the thing about, you know, if you write SEO content as an example, and you're a content writer and you really understand what an article needs to have, not just the education and uniqueness, but also have to have, say, keywords in there so it will help a search engine rank your content. I would say that someone that does that would be able to prompt in AI, say Chat GPT, than just say a regular business owner. I think that being a prompt engineer, I'm not. Just that just doesn't. It just never rang to me as it. I think that we all have our own knowledge that we have, and understanding. If you're giving, say, Chat GPT to write an article for you, you have to put in the right prompts. But I know how to write SEO content. I understand what a search engine looks for, so I'll know what to ask it to put into the article. Whereas, I wouldn't understand in terms of AI in sales in your business how to prompt it to write an article that would showcase your business or make people understand what you're doing in a way. So I think that prompt engineering is a bit of a misnomer, because I think that it's going to be different for everybody based on their experience and what they understand in terms of what to tell the AI on what to write. If you're not giving it the right input, you're not going to get the right output. So I would say that, it's great that someone has a lot of experience, and if they're able to engineer proper content through AI, then awesome. But it's important. I don't understand how someone that is, say, in one industry could become a great prompt engineer in general. They'd have to understand other industries to the detail that, many people have been in for many years. That's kind of my take on prompt engineering.
I'm going to take a bit of an adjacent point of view. I think for salespeople, they need to be trained and skilled and asking the right questions. And that's all around decision making. We have to increase the critical thinking. I mean, let's focus in on what the key skill that we want. We want critical thinking skills. Critical thinking means that you won't dig just once. You'll dig multiple times to get your end result. And so ChatGPT or any of these solutions are only as good as the quality of the question and also the discovery process that you go on. And we do need to train our salespeople and marketing people how they can get richer insights from the rich large language models. And because it's never on the first or second question. So we've created a term called prompt engineering. It's kind of cute, right? But that's not really the point. The point is critical thinking is a gap in our sales talent, and we know that. And we have a declining competency in critical thinking in humans as well. So AI is, eventually going to evolve where it will start prompting you with more context based on what you've provided it. So it will be hungry to guide you. But obviously there are lots of consulting businesses that are setting up, we're going to train your salespeople to ask the right questions and so that they use these tools effectively. And that's all good and that's important. But I don't know if the term prompt engineering will survive. Although I am on a few boards as well at the universities, and so that are teaching AI skills and development. And so of course the new vernacular is flowing through, so it might not totally disappear, but I think it behooves us to think strategically and what are we really trying to achieve, and what is the skill set that we need to build in our human talent, right? I think that's the right approach to take and be very focused on that. If it's increasing listening skills, and salespeople need a lot of that, So, and I think, Jen, I'm going to turn it back to you to close out because I know we're at the top of the time, but for those of who are here, but thank you so much, Joel. But I'll let Jen officially close this webinar out.
Yeah, sounds good, Cindy. And thanks again to Joel. It was a pleasure to connect and chat about sales and AI together. Again, I invite our listeners to join us at saleschoice.com/resources, where there is years and years worth of AI thought leadership content, webinars, podcasts, white papers, articles, you name it. And join us next time for more insights on the AI world.